This video tells the tragic story of Allen Campbell and the abused elephant Tyke. Allen was an American zookeeper and elephant trainer who was crushed to death during a circus performance in Honolulu after attempting to save a fellow co-worker from the performing elephant Tyke, who had run amok. Captured from Mozambique as a baby in 1973, Tyke was trained as a circus animal from an early age. Shipped to the United States, Tyke was quickly sold off to the Hawthorne Corporation, a company that supplied animals to circuses. From 1997 to 2002, Hawthorne's elephants performed all over the United States. The Hawthorne Corporation was cited repeatedly for failing to provide adequate veterinary care and for failing to address the health and safety of its elephants. Sadly, Tyke endured years of abuse by her handlers, but it was only a matter of time before she fought back. Allen Campbell was an experienced zookeeper who consulted on elephant rides across the country. He was described as a workaholic by his colleagues, and his greatest dream was to train circus elephants. He made positive changes to the elephant program in Baton Rouge by insisting that the animals were fed every day, and their cages were cleaned twice a day. But he was later fired from a different zoo after allegations that he had abused animals. Tyke had escaped twice before in 1993 and gone on rampages, but had been recaptured both times. She tried to escape again during a circus performance with Allen on August 20, 1994. But unfortunately, she didn't make it. Tyke had been in the circus nearly 20 years, and she was tired of being beaten, whipped, and kicked. She could no longer take the pain and the confinement. Tyke veered from the script at some point during the show. Circus staff tried to beat her back, but no bullhook or whip could stop the rage that had been building inside her for 2 decades. Tyke attacked groomer Dallas Beckwith in front of thousands of spectators, throwing him several times. Allen rushed to help, but was knocked under her trunk and crushed to death. For nearly 30 minutes, Tyke ran through the streets of the Kakako neighborhood's business district at rush hour. Tyke enjoyed more freedom than she'd seen in her entire life. But sadly, it didn't last long before she was cornered by police and gunned down by 87 bullets. She slowly fell over, then awkwardly stood back up. The police kept firing. Her head swayed and her legs buckled. She got up again. The spray of bullets continued. She rocked her head violently from side to side. Her legs gave way once more. She was on her knees and could not right herself. Her eyes were fully open and confused. The shooting went on for several more seconds. Finally, she fell, very slowly, onto her side. People watched aghast from their cars, apartments, and the sidewalk. Almost 30 years later, witnesses still remember it vividly, and the attitude in Honolulu toward animal-driven circuses is distrusting. No circus elephants have performed since Tyke, even though there is no prohibition against it. For decades, Hawthorne Corporation, owned by John Cuneo, leased elephants and tigers to circuses, including shrine-sponsored ones. The company was fined $272,500 in penalties by the USDA and had its license suspended twice. John Cuneo admitted to numerous willful violations of the Federal Animal Welfare Act, and the USDA ordered Hawthorne to relinquish 16 endangered Asian elephants, in addition to one who was determined to be in imminent danger of death. The Hawthorne elephants were ground zero for tuberculosis in the species in the United States. Multiple elephants died from it, and handlers contracted it as well. Numerous tigers exploited by Hawthorne have also died prematurely. In 2017, one who was being lugged across the country inside a tiny crate became hypothermic and dehydrated and had labored breathing. Near death, he was euthanized. Another tiger died while on the road without any veterinary treatment, and a third was found so emaciated that he couldn't even lift his tail to urinate. According to an application that the circus submitted to export and re-import tigers for use in a foreign circus, at least 32 tigers owned by Hawthorne died between 2000 and 2011 alone. They died from causes including salmonella, a faulty cage door, renal failure, skin diseases, and being caged with incompatible tigers who attacked them, and nearly half of them were 3 years or younger. For years, humans have been fascinated by elephants. The Earth's largest land mammals are among its most brilliant and most intriguing. Unfortunately, our fascination with them often leads to exploitation rather than reverence. Elephants are commonly stolen from their mothers and herds as babies and beaten mercilessly to break their spirits and make them fearful and submissive. Often, people who patronize camps that offer elephant rides see elephants with scars and handlers holding their ever-present bullhooks. But even if the abuse is carefully hidden, as it so often is at sham sanctuaries, all elephants used in direct contact activities, including elephant bathing, painting, and shows, have been subjected to the malicious crush process to make them compliant. As travelers turn their backs on obviously cruel animal exhibitions, many facilities are now adding sanctuary, refuge, rescue, orphanage, and other compassionate-sounding descriptors onto their names. Unfortunately, these terms aren't regulated in any way, and in far too many cases, the name is new, but the abuse is the same. So, how can you find a real elephant sanctuary? It is difficult to know whether a place that brands itself as a sanctuary or rehabilitation center really is as ethical as it claims to be. True sanctuaries never sell, buy, trade, breed, exploit, or profit from elephants. They never use bullhooks or punish elephants in other ways, even out of tourist sight, and they don't force animals who naturally avoid humans into close contact with them. Ethical sanctuaries have hundreds, if not thousands, of acres for elephants to roam. This space doesn't include the acreage or land where building structures or spaces are dedicated for humans and elephant care. These acres are for elephants only. These facilities are often closed to the public, and when they do offer tours, they keep visitors at a comfortable distance so that they don't disturb the animals. True sanctuaries won't let you touch or feed the elephants because this is stressful for the elephants and dangerous to you. Feeding the elephants likely means you're touching them, but under a tourist context, it may also be unhealthy for the elephants. If elephants are being fed all of the time by tourists, they are at risk of gaining weight from the sugary treats that tourists usually feed them. Obesity is bad for elephants, just as it is for humans, and is a major problem for elephants in captivity. If the elephants are following the commands of the handlers to pose for photos by lifting their trunks, sitting on their hind legs, or doing unnatural activities like painting, it's also not an ethical elephant sanctuary. Ethical sanctuaries give elephants the freedom of choice, something that no zoo, circus, or public display facility can provide. Elephants can choose between a field or forest to roam in. They can choose with whom to spend their time, and they can choose whether to see humans or not. While these choices are still limited compared with life in the wild, they are far better than public display facilities. Although the ideal place for elephants to live is in the wild, this is not always possible. It is rarely safe or feasible for them to be returned to the wild after being rescued. The bottom line is, if the behavior of an elephant wouldn't happen in the wild, for example, bathing with many different people, posing with trunks up for photos, giving rides to visitors, then you can assume the elephant is being exploited for profit.